This week on the RV Podcast,
Confessions of a Camp Host. In our conversation of the week, you'll hear all about the good, the bad, and the wonderfully weird.
gas prices are sky high again, but they're blaming it on a flood at a refinery and say prices should drop again soon.
How not to get burned out from driving to your next camping spot.
All this plus the RV news of the week and your questions coming up in episode 362 of the RV Podcast.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Wendland. This is my lifelong traveling companion and my bride, Jennifer. Hello, my dear.
Hello, my Michael.
We are recording this a little bit early because this is our travel week. Actually, we're going to be traveling for the next 2 months. Can't wait.
It's going to keep grass from growing under our feet, that's for sure. We're not going to get bored.
But the big trip is we're making our way this week to Minnesota, to actually Bemidji, Minnesota. And that's the first town on the Mississippi, up in northern Mississippi, right where the Mississippi River starts. And we're going to see if we can jump across it. We'll be there for about 35 days following the Mississippi all the way down, both sides of the river, all the way down to New Orleans as part of a fantasy RV tour. And we can't wait to hang out with a bunch of other folks who will be on that tour. And we'll be sharing as much as we can in almost daily updates that we'll be doing on our YouTube channel.
So if you're going to jump across it at the source, are you going to swim across it at the mouth?
I will let you do that. You've always been a strong swimmer.
All right. Okay. That sounds logical.
Yeah. But we're going to have some fun. We're really looking forward to this trip. There's so much to learn about this major waterway, the major waterway really in the United States and certainly in North America, one of the big ones. So we'll be sharing a lot with that. Check our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, would you do youtube.com/RV Lifestyle? We would love to have you be one of our regular subscribers. When they click that little bell icon, then you get notified when we have new videos, and we're going to be doing a lot of reports from there. So it should be fun. All right. Hey, before we get to the news of the week, we want to take just a second and tell you about something that we are really excited about. And you've heard us talking about this now for much of the past year, but you know how RVing isn't just about the places that you go, it's about the people that you meet.
That's exactly what we've built with our RV Lifestyle community. It's a private, it's ad-free, and it's filled with folks just like you, RVers who want to share tips, swap stories, and help each other out. We're in there every day ourselves, so it really feels like a campfire conversation that just keeps going.
If you look at all of the advertising and the marketing out there and all these YouTube influencers that are out there, and there are hundreds of them, you would think that everything is 30 and under or the 30s, 20s. And that's not true. So many times, everybody seems to think it's standing on the roof doing yoga poses. And I don't know anybody that does that except those so-called influencers. You did it once. That should be our story of the week sometime.
Okay.
We'll share that maybe next week. We're not going to have a story this week because we got to record this and get packing and hit the road. But we are in the community every day ourselves. You can instant message. You can reach us. We really like giving hands-on help if you have questions. And yes, it is a paid community, but honestly, just about everything online is paid now. It costs a lot of money for all these things, and some things are worth paying for. You get a trusted, safe place, no ads, a group of friends who really get the lifestyle.
So if you've been looking for a place where you belong, come join us at rvcommunity.com. We'd love to see you there.
All right, let's look at the RV news of the week.
All right, so if you got really upset when you looked at gas prices right before Labor Day weekend and you're like, what, they're doing it again? There was a reason those prices went up, and that's because there was flooding that temporarily closed the Midwest's largest oil refinery. And the results was a sudden 27-cent per gallon price hike everywhere from Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin, to some parts of Illinois and Indiana. But the good news is the BP Whiting refinery in Indiana is now operating again, and experts expect prices to drop next week.
I still marvel that these prices always happen when there is a whole lot of traffic on the road for a holiday. And then they go down, and then the next big holiday, up they go again. But this one, they say, was from the flood.
Yeah, you can't stop flooding.
All right, the National Park Service. We've been reporting this, and it's become really politicalized. So I'm going to try and not get into that, but we do need to report this because there's some people making a lot of noise. In all, they probably lost about a quarter of its workforce this year. Now there is this leaked internal parks report from July 25 that says, quote, staff are overwhelmed, conditions are deteriorating, and visitors are being left without the services or protections they count on. Now, this is being really circulated, this leaked report, by the National Parks Conservation Association. Now, we approve of much of their work, but it is an advocacy group, and they have been very political about all of this. And without getting into the politics, they're saying that the effects of the staffing cuts vary. Catch that. They admit it varies, and are based on how many employees were lost at a particular location through the government's early retirement offer and those probationary employee cuts that they do every year. But the reports that we get from people is that most of our people who are out there camping all the time are not reporting it. We're not hearing people say, oh, this was terrible, the park was a mess.
And like, for example, this report what they put out was saying that Yellowstone reports no problems, while Yosemite reports a temporary halt to ranger-led tours. Zion reported a reduction in cleaning capacities and less capacity to respond to emergencies. And Indiana Dunes dropped ranger programs ranging from 575 last year to 100 this year.
So they vary. You can let us know if you're noticing a deterioration in service in the national parks. Certainly, there's probably overall not as many ranger-led programs as many of us are accustomed to. But just be aware that there's a lot of strong feelings and everything becomes political these days. But obviously, it's had some effect.
Yes. Now, the first customers who purchased an all-electric self-propelling travel trailer created by a Colorado startup will soon take delivery. We interviewed the founders of Lightship a few years back on the podcast, and we've been tracking their progress since.
Now, they're on the road now. They're all electric travel trailers. If you don't remember, they can be towed by electric or diesel or a gas-fueled truck. But because these trailers are self-propelling, the trailers cut way down on your fuel costs. When you tow, your mileage goes way down. You control these things by a tablet. They fold down and become very aerodynamic. And they're quite interesting, and they're now in production. So it's been fun to watch the development of that. Someday we're going to get our hands on one ourselves, and we'll pass that along as well.
Now, love is in the air for the elks of the Rocky Mountain National Park, which means meadow areas are closing September 1st from 5 p.m. to 10 a.m. daily. Elk mating seasons last through the end of October. During this time, visitors are urged to stay at least 75 feet away. And the closed areas include
the meadows of Horseshoe Park, Upper Beaver Meadows, Moraine Park, Harbison Meadow, and Holsworth. Now that's at Rocky Mountain. Now they haven't said anything about Yellowstone, but there's always a bunch of very aggressive elk, particularly in the Mammoth Cave area. There's also elk throughout the West. Just know that it's also mating time there. Elk can become very territorial.
And you got to think about this, like the bison too, they're big. And when love is in the air, they don't want you interfering.
That's right.
Get out of the way.
Yeah, a little privacy, please.
Yes.
Hey, a hiker was attacked by a bear at Glacier National Park last week while walking near Lake Janet. Now, the bear and her two cubs jumped out of the brush, and the woman who was attacked was smart. She dove off the trail. She covered her head. The mama bear gave a swipe at her, and it scratched up her shoulder and her arm. She was not seriously hurt, thank goodness. Her companion used bear spray, which caused the animals to flee, and the hikers made it to Lake Janet Wilderness Campground, where help was called. Now, they're not going to put down these bears. The bears were surprised. The mama was trying to protect her cubs. The very same thing happened to us at Glacier National Park, except we weren't attacked. we were really not that far from a campground, and we were along a path.
Yeah. And when I saw the mama bear pop up,
We were
we could
10
have said,
feet from her.
yeah, we were much too close.
Yep.
I just spoke very softly. I wanted her to know that we were there. I didn't scream or yell or anything. I just wanted her to know that we were there.
We backed up. She had
Yep.
one cub with her, and the cub, he gave a look at us, but he climbed up a little berry tree and started munching.
And we got the cutest picture because the cub he wanted to eat those berries. And he had his eyes on us.
Yeah,
So
he was
he's
giving
looking
us
at
a
us
stink
and
eye. Yeah.
nibbling on those berries.
Yeah, we'll put that picture up for those of you who
That-
watched the video version of
A
this.
happy ending to that.
But the point
Sure.
is that bear are all over out there. You have to be alert. You always have to have bear spray.
I think,
Always
I
carry
think
bear
make
spray.
noise.
Yep.
Make
All right.
noise.
All right,
Don't
that's
suppress
the news of the week. If you have questions or comments about anything you heard, we'd love to get your comments. Send it to us. Our personal email is mikeandjen@rvlifestyle.com. And right now, it's time for the RV conversation of the week, and we're calling this one Confessions of a Camp Host. And we've tapped into a good friend of ours, Ari Adler, along with his wife, Jessie, spend about 9 months of the year traveling the country, working remotely, and camp hosting at some of the most fascinating locations. They camp in a 2022 Airstream Flying Cloud. That's a 30-foot office model, which is great because they both work. And they're on the road, like we said, about 9 months of the year.
Yeah, they both work remotely on the road while camping hosts. Isn't that a great combo? Recently, they spent some time in Texas camp hosting at Mustang Island State Park.
They were also at Goliard State Park and even the Lyndon B. Johnson State Park and historic site. I think Jessie got all dressed up and did interpretive programs at that park as well.
She would be fantastic doing that. She's a fun person.
Yeah. Anyway, Ari is here and he is going to share a glimpse into what it's like camp hosting, why they like it, some of the stranger things that have happened to him, and why you might want to investigate camp hosting yourself. Well, Ari, it's good to see you. We usually see each other in person a couple of times a year, and it's been a while now because I'm this way and you're that way, or the other way around. So I want you to kind of paint a behind the scenes picture, if you will, for us about what it's like camp hosting. And then we'll kind of get into your whole story and how it started. But what don't we know that you guys see that would maybe surprise some of us?
I mean, I don't know that it would be a surprise. I think most people would understand that most campgrounds are understaffed, particularly when we're generally serving in a state park somewhere. They have a huge backload of work that has to be done. They don't have enough staff. They don't have enough budget. It's maybe people are expecting that. I don't know. But that is really where camp hosts have come in to help with that, because we're there to volunteer and pick up some of the slack whenever we can.
What has surprised you the most about RVers? And you are an RVer, but when you see them with the camp host tag around your neck, what might have surprised you?
I think most surprising has been how many people have come to me and asked about camp hosting. How do you do that? How does it work? How could we get started? I think there's a lot of people that if they really like RVing, is they're trying to figure out how can they do it more. And a lot of times it's people who are RVing at state parks and things. Maybe they're there for a weekend or they're there for a week-long vacation, and they start to realize, hey, this would be kind of cool to do this more often or to do it full time. And that's, I think it's been a surprise to me how many people have really been interested in what can they do to become camp hosts.
What made you guys start in this? What made you decide to become a camp host?
When we hit the road and decided to do it nearly full time, and we're generally on the road about 9 months out of every year now, clearly cost plays a role in all of that. And being able to go to beautiful places and see things is great. But when you're traveling a lot, the costs can add up. And I sort of stumbled into the park hosting and camp hosting thing and decided to check it out and realize that, we could stay somewhere for 2-3 months at a time. And I put in some hours for volunteer work, and we get a full serve, a full hookup site for free the entire time. And it works out to be a really good deal. And not only does it save you money in places you might want to go that could be a little more expensive than others, but I've noticed that there are places that maybe you're not going to be able to get into to camp because they're so busy. But if you're willing to volunteer and become a camp host, then there's going to be a site for you.
How do you pick a site?
We have been going to Texas for a number of years now. We've sort of fallen in love with doing that in the winter time, and it's really just a matter of getting into the system. And each state is a little bit different, but you get on their state websites and you can find all the information there. And then it's a matter of where do you want to be within a state. And because we leave Michigan in the winter every year, we're trying to get away from cold. So we try to stay a little further south. And that's kind of how we set a line. It's kind of like we don't want the temperatures to go below a certain amount. And so we look at what the weather looks like, and then we try to pick new places whenever we can. We've gone back to one place a couple of times, and we probably do it again. And we sort of fall into that trap a little bit of we love a state park, we love the team that's there in the area, and we think about maybe we should just come back. And then we remind ourselves that part of the reason we do RVing is to see new things and experience new places. So we're trying to do that as well.
What have been some of the experiences that you have had that really are unique that you might not have known about had you not been a camp host?
One of the most recent was we served for the spring in Mustang Island State Park down in Texas, down near Corpus Christi. And the abundance of wildlife there surprised me. And I think that's one of the things with being there full time and dealing with things, as they come. I mean, there's different seasons for different wildlife there. But we were able to assist in a sea turtle rescue. They have a program there where sea turtles are coming up. They're coming up on the beach to lay their eggs and leave, and we're always on watch for that because it's an endangered species. And so we alert the local rescue team, and they came in, and you were able to measure the turtle and put a collar on them and get them all figured out so they could be tracked, and then also to retrieve the eggs. And they take them, put them in an incubator, and are able to release them later in the year and just increase the chance for survival. It was just a really cool experience to be able to do that. And that's something that only happened because it is pretty rare for them to come up like that and for us to see them when they're doing that. So being there full time as a camp host offered us that opportunity.
What other things come to mind in your camp host things?
One of the things is funny.
You mentioned sea turtles. Well, they're kind of fun, but anything else?
They're kind of fun. There's things that aren't so fun to deal with. And because you are the camp host, especially after hours, there's really nobody else to turn to. If a camper comes to you and says, hey, there's some giant bug in the shower and I don't know what it is. I've never seen it. I don't want to deal with it. So we go deal with it. And that's the one at Mustang Island in Texas that I'm thinking of is it's something I'd never seen before either. It's called a giant red-headed centipede. It's huge. And it's very fast, and apparently they do bite. And people say it feels kind of like a scorpion sting, so it's not something you want to mess with. So I had to go in the shower and deal with this creature I've never seen before, and there was nobody else to really call for backup. So you learn to deal with that. But I've also assisted during the day, and during the weekday, there were rangers available. We got a call from somebody at a campsite discovered a rattlesnake in their campsite, so I had to go help wrangle that rattlesnake and move it. Texas state parks, most of them, I believe, I know Mustang Island is a no-kill park. So it's a matter of relocating them somewhere else and letting them go on their way and I guess hoping they don't find their way back.
Well, you probably have experienced a lot from campers too. How about your bad camper experiences? What have you noticed?
I think overall most people are pretty good and they're there to have a good time and relax and don't want to cause any problems. We do occasionally have to deal with, reminding somebody of the quiet hours if they're kind of up late around the campfire and making some noise or, setting up things on their campsite the way they shouldn't or parking their trucks on the grass near the trees, that kind of thing. But for the most part, I think it's been pretty good. Occasionally we'll run into people that may want to come in early before the booths are open and then they don't have a sticker. They haven't paid their entrance fee. And so we've had to deal with that a little bit. And I'm always really careful. And we're always reminded by the park staff that we're not there to enforce the rules, but we can remind people of them. And what I have found that works is just be friendly to people. And you just kind of chat with them and say, hey, just FYI, if a ranger sees you doing that, they're going to stop and talk to you. Or if a ranger notices you don't have an entrance fee, you're going to have to pay that fee and they could ticket you. So, and most people are pretty receptive to that kind of interaction.
What kind of things have you experienced as a camp host and as a veteran RVer for many years now that you could pass along to people that would make their camping experience, both the leaving and the arriving, a little bit better?
pack your patience, particularly as things have gotten busier at a lot of the state parks. And as I mentioned earlier, they're understaffed, and so it might take a little while to get through the line or to get everything that you need to get to your campsite. If you find any problems with a campsite, let somebody know as soon as you can. You may not be able to get a response right away because, again, it depends on, to you it might seem like an emergency that there's a water leak and something's not quite working right. But as long as you've got water, you're hooked up, the team will get there and address it as soon as they can. But I would say just make sure you do flag somebody down and tell them, because I have had campers that, kind of on their way out and complain and said, oh, this is a terrible campsite and here's why. And it's like, well, if you had told somebody, we may not be able to get to it right away, but we will try to do something to help you either get another site or get that problem fixed. So speak up.
What about arriving early, arriving late, arriving when hours are there, backing in, those kind of things?
Sure. And, a lot of the state parks now are changing where they aren't letting you do early check-in. And a lot of people, when I say pack your patience, people don't understand that either. They'll be like, well, I'm here and there's nobody on the site, so why can't I get into it? Well, as a camp host, we're often responsible for making sure campsites are in good shape, cleaning out the fire pits, making sure things are cleaned up and ready for people, making sure everything's working, electrical, water, that kind of thing. So we need that time from the checkout, because somebody may have just checked out at the latest possible moment and somebody else wants to check in at the earliest possible moment. But we do need a gap there to be able to get a campsite ready and make sure it's good for you to be there. So pack your patience for that. And then if you need help backing in, you can often ask a camp host for somebody just to spot you. We're somewhat restricted. Obviously, I can't, jump in somebody's truck and do it for them. And I'm not going to necessarily give you directions, but I'm always happy to stand there and just be that extra set of eyes. If it's, a pole or a tree or something, we're always happy to help with that.
So you're going to do it again this winter?
Yeah, we are. We're set up to be back in Texas this winter. We've got a couple of different parks that we're looking at that we're just trying to finalize our plans, and we'll end up down there. We usually do 2 to 3 months at a time at a state park. And then, we've actually, we are thinking about doing some park hosting in the summer. We've done that before. We did it in Utah. It was beautiful. We've got a site in Wyoming that we're looking at. So we're just trying to kind of expand our horizons and make the most of what we're doing.
How much work is actually involved in it? Do you get any downtime? Is it a 7-day a week thing, or and do you get any extra perks besides free room and board, in your RV and no utility fees?
It's actually not bad, and it changes from state to state, and then the federal parks, national level is a little bit different again. But for Texas, for example, because I've been there the most, that's 24 to 25 hours a week per site. And so that's not bad at all. And my wife, Jessie, people may know, works a full-time remote job. So I'm the one usually picking up the volunteer hours, and then she helps out when she can. But, they'll work with us around our schedule. They'll, figure out you're not working every day. So you're going to get days off to go and explore, because most of the state parks understand that you're there to sort of enjoy the area, enjoy the park itself. And they're going to give you time off to be able to do that. And so that's not bad. And I found that a lot of the states we've looked at, Utah and Wyoming, for example, it's running somewhere between 20, 26 hours a week per site. You want to look at that and make sure it's whether it's per site or per person, because that can make a big difference on what you're doing. But they've been very helpful to us because they know that only one of us is doing the volunteering full time. And they're always happy to work with us. They are desperate for staff and they're desperate for help. There's always things that need to be done. So they usually work with you on that.
I would imagine you've probably met some pretty good, made some friends doing all this.
We have. Yeah, we've made a lot of friends in other camp hosts. We've met campers that we've stayed connected with over time. Certainly the state park staff that you work with full time. And that's a bonus, I think, of being a park host too, is you really get to get behind the scenes and work with the staff on a regular basis and find out what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing. Sometimes you'll get behind the scenes access. I know we did Goliad State Park down in Goliad, Texas. There's a big old mission there from the 1700s. And we were able to go up into the bell tower in the mission, which is not open to the public anymore. So that's just a really neat experience to be able to go up and see that. And being able to see things before the parks are open and after they close, and being there when the crowds have disappeared, that's a huge benefit to kind of living there full time for a couple months.
Well, as you might have picked up in the interview, Ari and his wife Jessie are also content creators on YouTube, and they have a channel and a blog, and they've had many posts, and you've got some interesting stuff that you've picked up in your camp hosting thing. Tell everybody how they can find you. And it's called, we'll put it on the screen and in the description below, but it's trekkers.org, right?
Trekkers, yeah, with 1K. So it's TREKERS.org is our main website, and everybody can kind of see us everywhere we are from there. That's kind of our hub. We are on YouTube as Trekkers. We're out on social media. So take a look. We try to share experiences that we have. We put reviews out on state parks we've been at, and just trying to share the lifestyle that we're living and hope people can learn from it.
I think the last time I had you on the podcast, we were sharing, and maybe this is how you ended up being a camp host, because you probably fell in love with state parks. And it was a great story because so many people think that you have to do this massive project to really get out and join RVers. At the time, you both had serious jobs you had to do, but you wanted to do as much RVing. Tell everybody what you did in Michigan, in one state.
Yeah, so we had this crazy idea of visiting every state park in Michigan and doing a video on it, and in 1 year. That was the plan, because it was the 100th anniversary of the state parks in Michigan. And we did it. We pulled it off. There are 103 state parks in Michigan. We always tell people we recommend you visit every state park in Michigan because they're all different and fun in their own way. I do not recommend you do it in 1 year. That was a big project. But yeah, it was a really neat experience to do that. And we still hear, that was a number of years ago now, but we still hear from a lot of people who use those videos to learn about the state parks, to do their planning, to follow up with questions. And we always love hearing from people about that.
And that idea of having a goal and something that you can check off and experiences that you can collect, I think having a theme is a great way to enjoy the RV lifestyle. And you guys showed it there. All right. Say hi to Jess for us. And we hope everybody goes and checks out your YouTube channel and your website. We'll again put those links. And Ari, as always, it's great to see you, and I hope we can arrange something in person before the end of the year.
Yeah, it'd be great to see you and Jen in person again. Thanks so much.
Yep. Keep on trekking, buddy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Ari, for sharing your adventures with us. And we'll put a link again to Eric and Jesse's website in the description for this video.
Now, are you tired of expensive campgrounds and crowded RV parks? What if I told you there's a way to discover amazing overnight stays across the U.S. and Canada for just $49 a year?
RV Overnights connects you with incredible hosts at farms, wineries, breweries, and unique roadside attractions that welcome RVers with open arms.
These aren't just parking spots. They're experiences. Many locations offer electric and water hookups, and you can often stay for multiple days. Picture yourself waking up in a vineyard in Napa, or parking beside a working farm in Montana, or discovering that quirky roadside museum you never knew existed. These are real small business owners who genuinely love meeting fellow travelers and sharing their slice of America.
We've been using RV Overnights this summer and have just been delighted with the places we've stayed, like a bison ranch, where we got up close and personal with some bison and had a beautiful bison pasture to camp in. Planning your adventure with RV Overnights is incredibly easy. They have a great app and desktop, website. You search for your route, book your stays, hit the road. All right, here's the best part. Our audience gets an exclusive 40% off their annual membership. Just use the code RVLDEAL when you sign up. Now, don't miss out on this. We have had such a great time with RV Overnights. You will really want to add this to your resources for getting campsites. Head to rvlifestyle.com/RV Overnights right now. And remember, use the promo code RVLDEAL and you'll get 40% off.
Now it's time for the social media buzz with Wendy Boyer, and she's going to report on the hot issues most talked about this past week on social media and our RV Lifestyle community group.
Hi, everybody. This week on my social media post, I'd like to share something that appeared in our Facebook group from Douglas. Douglas was looking for advice because he was finding the RV lifestyle was not what he thought. First, a little background on Douglas. Douglas and his wife bought a 36-foot motorhome back in 2019. They planned to take it out, but then COVID happened. They had some new grandchildren. So this is the year that they're doing their big trips for the first time. The first trip he did was a fantasy RV tour through Calvary. It was for 15 days. He said they enjoyed it. The motor ran great. But he wrote, The driving seemed a bit tedious and at times nerve-wracking. There were crazy drivers, narrow roads, road construction. And then, he said, on August 8th, they left North Idaho and they had another tour that was starting in September in Maine. And so they had this pace where they left North Idaho, then they were in Missoula, Montana, they were in Chinook, Montana, they were in Williamston, North Dakota, Woodworth, North Dakota, Lake Elmo, Minnesota, Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin, Sister Bay, Wisconsin. They took a ferry over to Ludington, Michigan. They were in Jenison, Michigan, Mackinac City, Michigan, Mackinac Island, Michigan, then down through Belleville, Michigan, where he wrote this post. And he said, so here's the problem. We are burning out on all this driving. This is not feeling like a vacation, but rather a lot of work and stress. I keep asking myself, when does this become fun? So poor Douglas, he's exhausted. He also shared that he is 75 and his wife is 70. So he's wondering, am I too old to be doing this sort of cross-country trip? And he also wondered if maybe he needs to just get a place in the south, a place in the north, and drive his motorhome between the two. But then he said he wanted to see the country, and that's not really seeing the country. So he asked for advice. He got something like 900 comments with just wonderful, wonderful advice. People were amazing. There were some common themes in what people said. The first thing they said was, slow down. You're going too far, too fast. That pace is exhausting. People did not think he was too old to be doing this, but they did think his pace was way too much. Some wonderful advice came from Sean. Sean wrote, I appreciate you sharing all of this so honestly. What you're feeling is actually really common for folks who are new to motorhome life. A lot of people go into it with the dream of seeing America, but then the reality of the constant driving, long days on the road, road construction, dealing with other drivers, it can turn it into more work than fun, especially on those marathon cross-country trips. So Sean said it sounded like the pace was what was draining him because it was so much pushing to get to the next place instead of stopping and enjoying where you are. And so Sean suggested just slowing down, staying in one place longer, which was a common theme of advice in this thread. Many people, like Mark, suggested that they need to figure out, why did they get into the RV life? What was it that they wanted to see? What appealed to them? Do they enjoy seeing museums? Do they enjoy being out in nature, seeing cities, meeting people? Whatever it is, set your own course of where you want to go and what you want to see based on your own interests, and then allow enough time to see each of those things. Mark also suggested having downtime. When you're working full time, you have to squeeze all this stuff into your vacation, but when you're retired, you have time. And so don't try to squeeze it all. Schedule time when you're doing nothing so that you're not exhausted, which was excellent advice. And many people also said it's okay to reevaluate once you're out there doing it. Maybe a motorhome is what's causing some of the stress. Maybe he would feel better pulling a trailer or in something different, something smaller. So lots to evaluate there and lots of great advice. What would your advice be for Douglas? If you had something to recommend, what would it be? Let us know in the comments. Would love to hear it. And that's it for me this week. I'm Wendy Boyer, and I'll see you either in our private RV Lifestyle community or Facebook group.
Thanks, Wendy. And we want to remind you again that the conversation doesn't stop when the podcast ends. Come hang out with us in the RV Lifestyle community at rvcommunity.com. It's where all the best tips, stories, and ideas keep rolling in.
Have you thought of your own RV property? I'm talking not so much a lot. They can be $100,000 at some of these big resorts. I'm talking about multi-acreage property that you can afford, that you can then make into your own little private RV retreat. The problem with that idea, as great as it is, it's hard to find places around the country that have multi-acres land that you can use to camp as long as you want, whenever you want. We know of 2 states that allow this, and we know of developments in both of those states. One of them is in Arizona and the other in Tennessee.
Rocky Lake is one of the most visited sites in Tennessee. It's one of the biggest lakes east of the Mississippi and a great vacation spot, perfect for RVers. Tennessee Land and Lakes is launching a grand opening of new property at the lake. They're big properties that allow for RVs near Paris Landing State Park, right near the marina, golf courses, resorts, and a slew of other great attractions. It's one of the most popular parts of the lake where it's at its widest and a really beautiful spot. There are large acreage, 5 to 29 acre sites in size, designed for privacy at great prices for the area with dedicated private access to Kentucky Lake. It's an ideal setup for RVers. Prices start at $99,900, and they've got woods and fields and views, cottages, and more with electric and high-speed internet. You can get details and a video tour at rvlands.net. Visit rvlands.net to get started. It's pretty incredible. One of the most exciting developments for RVs is happening out west in Arizona. Western Land and Ranches is selling 5-acre high-elevation ranches just off the famous Route 66, the birthplace of the American road trip. And these are beautiful, secluded tracts of land surrounded by majestic mountain ranges with sweeping valley views. The high elevation is a unique microclimate as well, giving you cooler temperatures, green grasses, and tree cover, making it unique for desert property. The community is in the center of it all, close to the best of the West: Grand Canyon, Las Vegas, Lake Havasu, Lake Mead, Lake Mojave, the Colorado River, Flagstaff, Sedona, and historic Williams. If you're tired of crowded RV parks and paying high fees for sites, well, ownership might be right for you. This incredible collection of mountaintop properties called Greenwood Ranches hit the market, and it's selling out fast. There is no HOA. You can build a house, a cabin, outbuildings, or just RV. It's your property, your way, 100% ownership. Visit the website to get details and set up a showing, ArizonaRVland.net. That's ArizonaRVland.net.
All right, it's time now for the RV question of the week.
Our question of this week comes from Leslie. We have a fifth wheel that takes 50 amps. We are booking at a campsite next month that is 30 amps. We booked before we upgraded our RV. Hopefully, we won't need AC, but if we do, will it work to run just one unit? Is it okay to do that?
Short answer, yes. I got to do more than a short answer. A 50 amp RV typically has two 120 volt legs. A 30 amp connection that you used to have provides a single 120 volt leg, and that's about 3,600 watts max. So what that means is you're going to have significantly less power available using 30 amps than if you were using 50 amps. Now, most 50 amp RVs can use something called a dog bone adapter. That's a 50 amp male to a 30 amp female. So you got to have that. And then that connects to the 30 amp pedestal, and it works just great. It does limit you to the 30 amp supply. And you want to know that if you've got multiple ACs in your RV, it's only going to run one of them. AC unit typically draws way too many amps to run two of them off a 30 amp connection. So you're going to have to just run one AC unit on that 30 amp connection. And you'll also want to manage other appliances that you have. For example, you don't want to run the AC and then the microwave or a hair dryer. Sometimes even a coffee maker and the AC could trip a 30 amp if you're running them both together. But just be aware of that, all the little things that take away from that 30 amp limit. But you will not have any problem at all running on at least one air conditioner under your 30 amp supply. Just be wise about what else is running at the same time.
Now, what about like a water heater?
It takes a little bit,
Not
not
that much?
a lot. And most water heaters work on gas or
Okay.
electric. If you're really straining that 30 amp connection, I would just use the gas connection because it doesn't use any power then at all. All right, do you have any questions? We love to get your questions. Our email address is mikeandjen@rvlifestyle.com. We will be on the road again. Make sure you have subscribed to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/RVLifestyle. As we do this 33, 34-day trip down the Mississippi River, we're going to try and do some daily reports that show you what we're seeing and just a quick idea of what this fantasy RV tour is like. It should be a lot of fun. And of course, we'll be doing our live streams on YouTube. And for those of you who are members of the RV community, we'll be doing live streams as well for you guys. We do live streams on Sunday night for Ask Us Anything. That's our big program on our YouTube channel. And then on Thursday nights, we also do a live stream for the rvcommunity.com. So we hope to see you on there. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. And don't forget, rvcommunity.com. That's where you want to hang out online. We'll be there. Ask us questions. We answer them every day. That's it for this week.
Happy trails.